I'm Lisa Hart with Good Rockin' Tonight, and I'm here at the Music Hall with Paul Humphreys of Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. They are currently on a world tour to promote their third release, The Pacific Age, with A&M Records. Welcome to Cleveland.
Thank you very much.
OMD has been together as a band for 8 years?
Yeah, that's right, 8 years. And myself and Andy have been a songwriting team for 10 years.
Yes,
so we go back a long way.
When the band started now, you didn't have this sort of long future in mind, did you?
No, I mean, really, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark was going to be one concert. Because myself and Andy had been playing lots of different bands, and we were writing songs for those bands. We didn't like the way the bands were playing them at all. It was way too rock and roll for us. So we decided just as an experiment, really, was to play the songs how we originally intended them, which was to ditch the other guys in the band and do it as a two-piece and our tape recorder called Winston. And we were just going to do this one concert just as an experiment, really. We had no goals to do anything else after that. We were just going to do this one gig.
So it turned out to be a good experiment.
But yeah, here we are, like 8 years later.
Well, your first hit in the United States was If You Leave, which was on the Pretty in Pink soundtrack. But that wasn't actually the first song that you wrote for that movie.
No, that's correct. Because last summer we were in Los Angeles just playing one concert, and John Hughes, the producer, heard that we were in town and contacted the record company and invited us over to Paramount Pictures. So we got there, we met him, and they were filming the last day's shoot of Pretty in Pink. And he said that he'd been a fan of our music for quite some time, and he'd used a song called Tesla Girls, which is a song of ours, in his movie Weird Science. But he said rather than use a song that we've used before, he said, would we fancy writing him a song specifically for the film? So it was the last day's shoot, so they hadn't edited the film, so all we had to go on was the script. So we went home, we took the script home, and we came back a couple of months later, we recorded the song and everything, and written it, and we were very happy with it. And we went to a screening, only to find out that they changed the whole ending of the film. It was a complete opposite ending to the one we had in the script. So the song, because we got it to work lyrically very well with the script, so obviously it was just out the window, it just didn't work at all. So John Hughes said, well, you've got 3 days off before you start this tour, how about writing us a different song? So we went into a studio, and within 3 days we'd written, demoed, recorded and mixed If You Leave.
Wow.
But they were long nights, I tell you, those 3 days.
Yeah, I bet they were. Tell me about your personal creative process. How do your songs come about? Do you like start on keys with something, or does each song start in a different way?
They normally start musically, but quite abstract. I mean, some of our songs will start from something really obscure, really unusual, something. I mean, we just pick up things when we're on the road. Like there's a few tracks on the album that were influenced heavily by our trip to Japan a couple of years ago, when we'd recorded 2 hours of Japanese commercials, TV commercials, and we fed like 2 seconds out of each of these commercials into our Fairlight computer, and of course you can play back these commercials in any key you want, and we'd only taken 2 seconds of like these little Japanese voices. But there's a couple of songs on the album, Flame of Hope and The Goddess of Love, which was the original track for Pretty in Pink, were started by these commercials. So we start in quite an abstract way, and then we'll develop them until we get something that we like. But I mean, it's quite often the melodies and the vocals that we put on the very last thing, rather than, I know some bands, a lot of bands start by, they'll write the chorus vocal first on the piano, and then the rest of the music then becomes play along with that melody, whereas we start at the bottom and move up. I think it makes more interesting music that way.
Yeah, kind of a layering process.
Yeah.
You've been popular in the UK and Europe obviously for quite a while, through 7 albums. Why do you think it took so long to become accessible to the United States, or become popular in the United States?
I think, when we first came over to America in 1980, a lot of the radio stations, the major stations, were playing things like REO Speedwagon, Journey and Foreigner, and OMD's music at that time just would not fit. In fact, OMD's music now would not fit into that kind of formatting on the radio. So, and I think our record company at that time lost interest in us. I mean, they tried, but they couldn't get us on the airwaves, basically. And so they lost interest. But a couple of years later, I mean, we still kept coming to America to tour, but we were mainly doing the club circuit and the college circuit. So it was the college stations was the basis of our cult sort of following. But a couple of years later, of course, bands like Culture Club and Duran Duran and Wham managed to break down a few doors and get themselves on the radio. And so, I mean, it really opened up the doors for British bands, but I think that was really when we needed a record company to really be really pushing us, you know, and we didn't have it. So it was only when we moved to A&M Records that things started to look up.
Well, thank you for talking to me.
It's my pleasure.
And wish you a lot of luck on the rest of the tour, and I hope the album goes gangbusters, and
Thank you.
we'll see you later. I'm Lisa Hart for Good Rockin' Tonight.